there's no Masechta of the Talmud on arms
Yeah.
factories, right? They kept it very quiet if there was.
What is Philo-Semitism?
So philo is love, as opposed to hate, and it's Greek, I think, as a prefix. Um, so yeah, it it sounds good, right? People loving
Hmm.
the Jews. Well, who wouldn't want that? But it tends to be connected to anti-Semitism, or at least a cousin of it, because it doesn't just treat Jews as ordinary people with their own foibles and characteristics. It's just like, oh, they're special, we particularly love them. And I think it's suspicious in itself. Like, why would you have that attitude rather than just treat us like normal people? But at the same time, I think it can often produce anti-Semitism from other people, because other people who are having a hard time look to the people being held up as wonderful and kind of end up blaming them.
Mm.
So it has quite a long history in Britain. So the oh my God, the famous novel, it's gone out of my head. George Eliot, Daniel Deronda. Daniel Deronda is the famous kind of Philo-Semitic novel, which is a very Zionist novel. But in Britain in the 19th century, the idea of the Jewish return to the Holy Land, as they called it, was very much a Christian idea before it was a Jewish idea. So that it's all bound up in that. But in recent times, I argue that the British state, has become really Philo-Semitic. It's held up Jews as kind of the ideal minority, the model minority, and the minority most in need of protection. Okay, so like, we have to do special things. We have to have extra police funding. We have to have different systems of security. And most recently, we have to maybe like ban certain organizations. We have to ban protests or limit protest because of the Jews, right? It's basically what they're saying. And that is going to make people hate Jews. I think it's already happening, almost certainly, incredibly irresponsible. And for sure, it's cheered on by major Jewish organizations, but I kind of blame the state. I think the state is basically doing what it wants to do. It's following its own goals and the goals of the arms companies that it funds, and its military goals, and it's just trying to push that onto Jews and saying, they're the reason we have to do this stuff. We'd love to support Palestinian rights, but sadly, couldn't possibly.
Oh, yeah, it's so embarrassing. Ruining people's lives if they were present at a protest and imprisoning them for a year would not endear them to the Jewish community.
No. So, I mean, I don't know if your listeners will know, there's an organization called Palestine Action in the UK, which is a direct action group which targets arms factories which are destined for Israel.
And arms factories, famously not Jewish institutions. That's why I started the podcast, to be like, hello, there is nothing Jewish about weapons manufacturing.
I mean, there's no Masechta of the Talmud on arms factories, right? They kept it very quiet if there was. So no, and it's like, what the fuck is this? Like, yeah, this is absolutely gauche as hell. But yeah, so they're targeting, they were targeting, before they were criminalized, Elbit Systems, which is Israeli-owned arms factories in Britain, of which there are quite a lot, and smashing up stuff. And the state criminalized them in a totally extraordinary way. And they not only criminalized the group, they criminalized anyone saying they supported the group. So a lot of people have been showing up in public saying, with a t-shirts or banners saying, I support Palestine Action, what it's called. And they get arrested en masse. And it's absolutely absurd. But unfortunately today, the court has ruled that this could continue. So it's not over yet. And the major anti-Semitism body, the Community Security Trust, like, welcomed the ruling from the court as like, yes, this is protecting the Jews. This is good. This is necessary. And none of the protests that they've done have targeted Jews. They've targeted arms factory, and it's absolute conflation to say that this is benefiting Jewish safety. They're the ones connecting it to Jews, the supposed anti-Semitism bodies, not Palestine Action themselves.
Oy, that's so embarrassing. and counterproductive. Like, I don't know if anyone who's been literate over the past 3 years can say that the strategy of militarism and the bunker mentality that Jewish communities all have all over the world has actually helped to make us safer.
No, no. I mean, and we have. I mean, maybe you would have come onto this, but we have had some really horrible anti-Semitism in Britain recently.
Actual
Violent.
anti-Semitism against human beings, not
Yeah,
against
yeah.
F-13 fire jets.
Right, against actual people. So there's been a series of arson attacks, which probably were carried out by an Iranian-linked group because they caught someone in the United States who is now in custody and has basically been tied closely to these. So that's in a way less worrying because we know that was coming from this particular group. But there was a stabbing in Golders Green. No one died, fortunately, and that probably wasn't linked to the Iranian group, people think. And then in Manchester last year at Yom Kippur, there was a ramming attack at a synagogue. Several people died. Only one person died from the attack itself and the attacker. The other died from the police response, which is maybe telling as well that the police shot the attacker and the bullet, went through. But so I'm always very careful to try and separate these different attacks and not push it all into one big mush of anti-Semitism that's terrifying. Because look at them differently. And the Manchester attack was basically an Islamic State proxy. So that's very specific, which I've called kind of fascist. I've tried to link that to fascist thought in a very specific link. The Golders Green stabbing may not have been. We don't know. But to the extent that there is a general anti-Semitism in society that sometimes leads to violence against Jews, which I don't doubt that there is, I think the conflation we discussed is a massive part of that. That people think they're not happy with their lives, they're not happy with the world, they're happy with what Britain is doing. The message from Britain and the British government is it's the Jews' fault. It's the Jews that kind of are responsible for that. And unfortunately, that leads people who are not right in the head, possibly, or who other forms of radicalism to target Jews. So I think tackling conflation is the best form of opposition to anti-Semitism that we could possibly do, alongside getting people to try not to panic and to remember that we've had this stuff before, nothing is new. The idea that everything's different since October the 7th is just such unhistorical analysis. So I talk about previous incidents in the past. Had attacks in 1947, for example. There were anti-Jewish riots in Britain because of events in Palestine. Because the Irgun hanged several British soldiers in Palestine, and then there were riots. So, the idea that things that Zionists do in Palestine have terrible ramifications for British Jews is sadly not new. We've been seeing this for a while.